Hello everyone, my name is Alex and welcome to another guide video on Azir. I want to make a specific guide video on runes today for Azir because I didn't cover them in the guide video that I made, the main guide video for him like a couple months ago. And that video's been doing really well. Again, I want to say thank you all to all the people who left comments and subbed from the video. And also it's brighter now because I have this huge ass light here that's making it super bright, so hopefully it looks kind of nice. Give me some feedback on if you think this is too bright. Like, let me know if you think this is too bright or whatever, if you liked it before. I might try to get new bulbs for this thing because it's really bright white light, and I don't like that kind of like doctor's office-y kind of like bright white light kind of deal. So I've gone like warmer light, like the light that I have here. Like, this is much more warm. So anyway, give me your feedback on that. Anyway, let's get on track. We're gonna talk about runes today because I didn't talk about them before, and there's a lot of runes that you can use on Azir for different scenarios and different things, and I would cover all of those in today's video and how you can use all the different runes and all the different matchups and stuff. Also, by the way, add on, little tangent, I've had a cold for the past few days. I'm over it now, but I'm super congested up in the nasal region, so it's gonna sound like really nasally, like oh my god, yes. So yeah, it's gonna be a bit nasally for a few days. So yeah, I'm snucking all the gunk in my nose up into my nasal nausages. Runes, keystones. We're gonna cover keystones and then secondary runes, all the different things. We're gonna cover the precision, domination, sorcery, and not resolve, but inspiration, and what runes that I think you could use on Azir and I think are really good. So let's get to it. So for precision, you can use 2 keystones and lethal tempo or Conq. Now lethal tempo is usually what most people pick up because they're thinking, oh, Azir needs attack speed, so more attack speed equals more good. The thing about lethal tempo is it's a good rune to bring on him, but it's more for the mid game, late game in my opinion. You don't really get to use it very much in the early game because most of the time you're not going to get off a lot of hits, so you're not getting a lot of benefit from the lethal tempo. I could be wrong on that, but that's just my experience with it. It's not my favorite rune to bring on Azir because I kind of Azir, I'm gonna this whole video is really gonna culminate to Azir's early game is really weak, and I like to take runes that are really good for early game that help you out a lot, and I prefer those runes myself. Now if you want to be more aggressive and stuff like that, which I you know, that's kind of what I'm going for, then perfect. But if you want to be more mid-gamey, late games, carrying lethal tempo is also a good option. Conq is the bread and butter rune nowadays for Azir because it's just a bread and butter rune for pretty much everyone. Everyone and their mom is using it on every single champion they can bring it on, and it's just getting really annoying that it's the only rune anyone brings. It's still pretty good with Azir because since they changed it last year so that spells and auto attacks can proc the Conq stacks. Makes it really good. And what it makes really good on Azir is that you can, unlike other ranged champions, you can stack the Conq pretty darn quickly. But specifically, the Conq says is that for whenever you land a spell or a melee attack, you get 2 stacks. If you hit a ranged auto attack, you get 1 stack. Now, Azir's W, the stabby stab soldier guys, they aren't considered a basic attack or an auto attack. They're a spell, so when they attack, they're a spell. That's why they apply rallies and stuff like that. So you actually stack 2 stacks instead of 1, so just a few auto attacks will get you to 10 pretty quickly. So it's a really good rune to bring. Gives you a bunch of basic, adaptive force damage, so most likely AP, and it does give you a little bit of healing. You only get 8% healing from it since they nerfed it when they reworked it, but it's still good if you're using it in conjunction with things like Ravenous Hunter or something like that, or you have something to give you a bit more healing. So it's pretty good in that regard. As far as secondary runes go, you'll want to bring Presence of Mind, Alacrity, and Coup de Grace. There's no real reason to use any of the other ones unless you have a huge, if the enemy team's like massive, like they have like thick people like Sejuani or a Zac or someone, they have a lot of people with a lot of health, then you can bring Cut Down because you most likely won't have as much max health as them. You want to like do as much damage as possible to the tanks. So, but generally you're just going to bring Presence of Mind, Alacrity, and Coup de Grace because the other stuff doesn't really work with you. Triumph is okay, I guess, but you really want to have mana in the late game, and if there's something that Azir lacks, that is mana. Domination. Electrocute and Hail of Blades are the 2 runes that you can use in domination. I'm dying. Down my nose. No! Oh my god, now it's It all sucks. I'm okay. All at once, everything was just starting to rush out. Electrocute. Good for the early game poking game you can play. Azir is known for his poking, his like superior lane control, stuff like that. Electrocute's great for that because you can proc it really easily with your auto attack reset or your kind of auto attack reset on your Q. Using a like, if you have Electrocute as auto attack, you can lay the soldier on them, auto attack, wait a second, Q auto really quickly, you'll get it off, you get a bunch of damage. It's great for the early game. Not so good for late game because although Electrocute does have scaling with AP, it doesn't scale. It doesn't like give you. You're not like a burst mage. You're not like Aery or anyone like that who could use it very often, do a lot of damage at once. You're just kind of there to do DPS. So while it's good for the early game, it definitely falls off later on. Hail Blades, however, I think actually is much better as far as the game goes on because you can use it in the early, mid, and late game. It is a burst rune, but it makes your DPS a lot higher. So you're actually the burst comes from your soldiers, not just your Q. So I do enjoy using it. It's definitely more leaning towards early game, even though I just said you could use it in other places, but it's still pretty good. Definitely helps with the early game damage because you can just like stab. You can get off like 3 or 4 stabs if the enemy is not even being careful. So it does. Since they changed it with the larger window of opportunity to use it, you can definitely use it on Azir. Your soldiers will proc the Hail of Blades. You do get the auto attack, the bonus attack speed from it, and it's great. I really enjoy it. It's not my pick all the time. I usually pick it on against champions who can abuse with my range, champions that can avoid my soldiers against things like Katarina, Diana, or anyone that can like has a lot of mobility, who can get out of your soldiers' range really easily, because then you're just kind of not able to use them at all. You're not able to do the damage. You kind of want to pick runes that are more keen towards like your Q or something like that. As far as secondary runes, Taste of Blood for the exchange, like the trades in the early game. Obviously Eyeball Collection, and then either Ravenous Hunter, or if you want to have more active items, Ingenious Hunter is also a good choice. If Ravenous Hunter doesn't really do much for you unless you're conjoining it with other things, it definitely helps with like gaining health back. If you're like just trading and you want some health back. But I've been finding like I've been actually liking Ingenious Hunter because I've been buying more active items on the champions that I play, like Hextech Jilby and stuff like that, or Zhonya's even. Like having Zhonya's up sooner is way better because you're gonna be shuffling all over the place. Consider those options, and yeah. Let's go on to the next one. Sorcery, Summon Aery and Arcane Comet. Summon Aery is great because it's just damage. Like if you want to do like mainly poking and not like trading a bunch, you just want to poke them down, Aery's great choice because it always hits. It hits very frequently. The cooldown it's very short. If you're in a constant fight, it's still useful because it's always like it's coming back, especially if you're closer to your target. It comes back and it hits, comes back and it hits, comes back and hits and hits and hits and hits. So the damage actually does like build up over time. It's useful all game round. You're not going to get much from the shield component of it, but it's still pretty good. Arcane Comet, if you want more damage, usually you're going to be able to hit it with your Q slow, so it's always pretty much going to hit. It does scale better than Aery and does more damage, and you actually get more cooldown reduction on it because when it's on cooldown, every spell you hit reduces its cooldown by 10%. Your soldiers, when they hit, if 3 soldiers hit like a target with your Q, it's actually going to reduce it by like 30%. So it's a great rune to bring on Azir. I've been playing around with it a little bit. I definitely recommend it. Again, these 2 runes are mainly for you to be able to poke the champion. So if you're not going to sit there and try to stab them a bunch like with Hail of Blades or Lethal Tempo or Conq in the early game, it's definitely helpful for that kind of purpose. So if you're just like fighting a Zed, you just want to poke him really quickly, get an Arcane Comet, run away, like that's perfectly fine, and that's the rune you want to bring. As far as secondary runes you want to bring, Mana Flow Band, like Mana Flow Band. Say it with me, Mana Flow Band. It's great. It's gonna give you a bunch of mana in the early game. It's gonna give you some mana regen that you desperately need if you don't build the Lost Chapter right away, or if you don't have it quickly enough. As far as other things like Transcendence and Gathering Storm or Scorch, I like Transcendence more because you generally are going to build. I don't feel like you can get as much value out of Absolute Focus as a lot of people think you can. I don't like that rune. It's my least favorite rune in the entire game. And I just like Transcendence way more because it gives you that 10% cooldown reduction. You're probably gonna get above 40% anyway, so you're gonna get some AP from it, and it's gonna be constant. It's not just gonna be like, well, if I get hit a bunch, if you're Azir, you're gonna be diving in or sometimes and trying to shuffle them around. Absolute focus is not gonna be great. So just that's just my 2 cents on it. I prefer Transcendence, but Gathering Storm and Scorch definitely perfect options. Scorch more for the poking game, Gathering Storm for late game. So whichever one you think is gonna be more beneficial. I don't know what people's opinion on this is, but I've been enjoying it. I love Glacial Augment. I've been loving this rune a whole lot. I think everyone really loves the rune because it's actually one of the more interesting runes in the game. It actually adds something else besides like damage to the game. I actually love, what I really love about a lot of the champions that I play is the control aspect of them. I love Azir because of his control-y aspects, the Q slow and the ultimate. I like things that have crowd control. Why would you ever bring Glacial Augment on Azir? It doesn't proc off your soldiers, so just be aware of that. It's going to be kind of useless for the early game, but once you buy the Hextech GLP, man, oh my gosh, you are a CC monster. Yes, you could tell me, oh, but Alex, you build Rylai's and stuff like that. Yes, that's true, and Rylai's is one of my favorite items on Azir because of that. But Rylai's is only 20% slow. And it's only when you auto attack or hit with the Concrete Sands. Glacial Augment makes you almost infinitely more useful to your team because you're slowing the whole team. If you hit them with all of with the snow cones and you put down these bunch of fields, then it's great. Now, if you didn't know what Glacial Augment does, what it does is that whenever you use a basic attack on someone, if it's a melee attack, it's 45 to 55% slow, and if you range attack, it's 35 to 40% slow. But if you have an item that has an active ability that slows, like Hextech GLP, like Hextech Gunblade, like Righteous Glory, those things can actually proc the slowing fields. So what happens is that you'll have these ice rays that shoot out and put these fields on the ground that are icy and slow people in them. So it makes it really great for crowd controlling, getting damage off. You're trying to surprise someone, trying to chase someone, which is what Azir kind of struggles at sometimes. It's great because then you can slow them down, you can stab them a bunch, you do a lot of damage, and the great thing is that Hextech GLP, I've said this in my previous gameplay video, is it only gives you 10 less AP than Luden's Echo. It gives you mana, the same amount of mana. It doesn't give you the bonus damage on hit, excuse me, but it does give you the active ability, which does damage, by the way. It does damage and scales with AP and slows, which I think is more useful than Luden's. Now, you could say that you want more damage and stuff like that. That's fine. I completely agree. I completely 100% agree. But Luden's Echo is really expensive, and sometimes you just want a cheap item to build. And Hextech GLP is pretty good. I actually really like the item, and sometimes I really want Glacial Augment. So it's an item to experiment with. It's definitely not something you want to use for every game. You're not going to use it against like assassins and stuff like that. If you're going to use it, you're going to use it against like a team full of people who use speed as their mobility. So things that want to chase you down and stuff like that don't necessarily have really big movement abilities like mobility, like dashes and teleports and stuff like that. So definitely it's only going to be for very specific instances. As far as secondary runes, you can take Magical Footwear, Perfect Timing, which are perfectly fine to bring, Minion Demoralizer or Biscuits, and all 3 of the slot 3 runes are perfectly fine. I only bring Time Warp Tonic if you're going to start with Corrupting Pot or something like that, which is also perfectly fine to do. Corrupting Pot's great because you can actually apply its little ticking dot ability, passive with your soldiers. So yeah, those 3 are pretty great. As far as your the shards or the little runes at the bottom, attack speed, adaptive force, and whatever defense rune you want, magic or armor magic resist. So those are pretty standard. So yeah, there you go. So yeah, that's all the runes, and those are all the runes that I think that, or not, I don't think that work with Azir in various ways. Really what it comes down to is figuring out what you're fighting against and what runes are going to be most beneficial for you. Oh, and by the way, thank you. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching the whole video. You get a pat on the back from me. A pat on the back as in I pat my back and for you. A pat in the back for me, from you. That's what I get. But anyway, yeah, thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed this video and you liked it, hit the like button. If you didn't like it, hit the dislike button. Hit dislike button. Hit dislike button. As in the like button, not the dislike button. Ah, I got you. Out of focus. Fun times. Subscribe if you want to see more. And leave a comment down below. Leave a comment, please. Please leave a comment. What runes do you like to take on Azir? Do you think that they should add more usage from other runes to other champions? Like, they changed Conquer so that more champions could use it, but that obviously meant that almost everyone takes it, so it's like, maybe there should be specific runes for champions. That's kind of why they took Kleptomancy out of the game, because only like 3 champions used it. So if you want to get notified when I upload a video, hit the bell button, because that, you know, tells you when that happens. And yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.